The night settled over the ranch like a held breath, moonlight spilling across the wide, wooden floor as the giant bride stood frozen near the bed, her shadow stretching longer than her courage, hands trembling as she whispered that it hurt, that she couldn't even bring her legs together, not from anything done but from fear she had carried all her life, fear of being too big, too different, too much for any man to truly want. And the rancher, weathered by droughts, losses, and long lonely seasons, did not rush her, did not laugh, did not look away, but stepped closer with the same patience he used with wounded horses, lowering himself so his eyes met hers, seeing not size but pain, not strength but innocence guarded by years of silence. And when he reached down, it was not with desire but understanding, finding bruises from a life of labor, stiffness from nerves locked too tight, and a heart beating like a trapped bird. So he told her to sit, to breathe, to let the night pass without demands, because marriage, he said softly, was not a battle to be won in one night, but a journey walked together. And she broke then, tears falling freely as she confessed she had never been touched with kindness, never been chosen for gentleness, only for what she could lift, carry, endure. And he wrapped her in his arms, not conquering, not claiming, just holding until her shaking slowed and the pain eased into warmth. And they talked through the night about the ranch, about the loneliness of wide skies, about how both of them had been misunderstood giants in different ways. And when dawn finally crept through the window, she leaned against him without fear, realizing for the first time that love did not demand strength but offered rest. And the rancher knew then that this woman, this so-called giant bride, was not something to be handled but someone to be protected, respected, and cherished. And as the sun rose over the land, they shared a quiet promise, not spoken aloud, that whatever came next would come in time, with trust, with care, with love that healed instead of hurt, a love strong enough to carry both their pasts and gentle enough to honor her innocence. And if this story moved you, morning didn't rush them, it arrived gently, light slipping through the thin curtains as if it knew this room held something fragile. And the giant bride woke first, startled by the unfamiliar peace in her chest, the ache still there but softer now, no longer sharp with fear. And she lay still for a long moment, afraid that if she moved the night's kindness might vanish. But the rancher was still there beside her, not touching, not claiming, simply present, breathing slow and steady like the land outside. And when he opened his eyes, he smiled, not the kind that expects, but the kind that reassures, and asked if she was all right. And that simple question unraveled something deep inside her, because no one had ever asked it without wanting something in return. So she told him the truth, that the pain wasn't only in her body but in her memories, in years of being stared at, whispered about, avoided or used, and that she had learned to lock herself tight just to survive. And he listened without interrupting, without fixing, the way a man listens when he knows the answer isn't words but time. And later that day he showed her the ranch slowly, not like a tour but like an invitation, explaining the fences, the horses, the scars on the land from storms and droughts. And she began to see how much of him was stitched into this place, how he too had been stretched thin by life. And when her legs grew sore, he didn't tease or push, he simply stopped, made her sit, brought water, his care quiet but constant. And that night when fear crept back and she flinched at her own closeness to him, he didn't reach for her body, he reached for her hand, holding it like a promise rather than a claim. And she realized that healing didn't come in grand moments, but in these small mercies, in patience repeated again and again. And over the next days she found her strength changing, no longer something she used to shield herself, but something she could finally rest. And when she told him one evening that it still hurt sometimes, that she still couldn't fully relax, he nodded and said, "Then we'll go slow, slower than the world expects, because love that lasts doesn't rush past pain. It walks through it." And as she leaned into his shoulder, not trembling now but choosing, she understood that this marriage wasn't a sentence or a test. It was a beginning, one built not on force but on trust. And if this chapter touched you, if you believe real love is patient and real strength is gentle, then subscribe to the channel for more powerful, emotional stories that stay with you long after the screen fades to black.